Recently, I've had some questions about delayed or deferred equity payouts to a vacating spouse. So I thought I'd take this moment to answer those questions and scenarios and what you need to know. If the parties agree that the vacating spouse will be paid out down the road and the staying spouse is going to keep the house, and you're going to put a lien in the decree in the homestead section for that amount, it is allowed, but there's a couple of scenarios to talk through, and they fall under kind of three categories. The first one is if there is no expectation for the person keeping the house to refinance, and they'll just keep making the current payment, and they don't need to refinance to remove the ex's name, or they don't want to, like to take out equity for themselves to pay off debts or something. So if you're not refinancing, you can do whatever you want. This rule doesn't apply. If someone is going to refinance, maybe it's in 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road, and at that time they're going to refinance and pay off that lien, then you can do whatever you want. Then these little rules don't apply. The trick is if there is an expectation to refinance but not pay out the ex's lien, that's where it gets tricky. It's called subordinate financing in our world, and we have to document. You have to word the decree right so we can approve that future refinance. And what we're looking for there is, in the decree, you have to state the amount of the lien so that we can determine the combined loan to value when that person is refinancing. 2, you got to state the interest rate and the monthly payment of that lien so we can accurately calculate the debt to income ratio, because that impacts that. And the one that's a little bit tricky is you have to state what the balloon date is going to be, and heads up, it has to be longer than 5 years from the date of the refinance. So where people get into trouble is if they say, hey, this lien is due in 3 years, and they're trying to refinance before that time frame, it won't be approved. The balloon date does not meet agency or Fannie Mae requirements. So I usually recommend like a 6-year deadline, but it all depends on when that borrower anticipates completing the refinance. And from the date of the refi, the balloon date has to be longer than 5 years. So there is one exception to that. It's a little bit of lender discretion, but the general rule is if the borrower has enough assets where the lien amount is minimal in relation to the assets that they have, then we can ignore that requirement. And it's a little bit lender discretion, but the example I would give is if the lien is $20,000 and they've got $100,000 in a 401k and they can borrow up to $50,000, then that's probably an approved exception. It doesn't work if those are flip-flopped and it's a $100,000 lien and they maybe only have $20,000 liquid and available. So, long story short, if you have clients that are entertaining one of these creative deferred or delayed payouts, call me. I'll help talk you through the language, maybe preview it for you to help know if it's likely to get approved in the future if that person is refinancing but not paying out the loan. Again, it doesn't apply if you have no expectation to refinance or if you're going to pay it out when refinancing. It's only an issue when you are refinancing but not paying it out. Sorry for the confusion, but wanted to explain some of those details. If you have questions, please give me a call. Happy to help.